So folks, Uprising is here. Now sure, we've known what about 99% or so of the set has looked like for a few weeks now, but I do have to say there's nothing quite like getting the cardboard in your hand, sitting down, reading them, to really focus in on a lot of those tier 2 or tier 3 pieces that makes the set what it is. Sure, it's easy to focus in on the bombs, especially during spoiler season, but for me, I often find a lot of joy in really identifying the various design wins within the set. And in Uprising, I have to say there are a lot of really sneaky and well done design moves. So today I'm going through my top 10 design wins from Uprising. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again. A fabulous cast. Andrew with here as always, hoping that your pre-releases this last weekend went really well. If you do have cards in your hand at this point and you're ripping packs, I hope that's going well for you too and that you're getting everything you want. I'm very excited to get my hands on mine, but I got some nice stuff for the pre-release and it really let me sit down and look through stuff and kind of stuff we're going to talk about today. So we are sponsored here by our good friends over at FabDB. I love them. You guys love them. We all love them. They are the best resource on the interwebs for everything collection management, deck building, whatever you need for Flesh and Blood. It's really a great resource over there. When you're over there checking it out, doing your thing, maybe building all the new decks for what you want to do, consider upgrading your account to unlock all the additional features over there. And thank you to our friends over at FabDB. All right, so tonight I wanted to talk about some things that when I've been going through this set, I'm like, wow, that's a really cool design space. That's a really cool designed card. Or, yeah, this was a spot or a niche that we really needed filled in. There's a lot of things from this set that, that might not be the quote-unquote sexiest card out there or whatever it may be, but it's a really cool design space. And I like looking at stuff like that. So join me as I count down my top ones. Now, this is not actually on the list, but I do want to throw this out because it's something that, in my opinion, we've needed for a long time, which is the checklist card. And sure, we needed it in the truest sense for the dragons with them being double-sided, but I would really like to see one of these for the fabled cards as well. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened, a couple events back with, curled foils and all that, and there's that whole discussion around that. But if we had something simple like this for the fableds to where there's no option, we wouldn't have that problem, right? So this is fantastic. It's a great start. It's a great design need. It's something that we need, and I hope to see more of it in the future. I'm pretty positive we will see some sort of it in the future, but let's hope we get the fabled one in the supplemental set. All right, number 10 is Scar for a Scar. What the hell? Scar for a Scar. The reason I like Scar for a Scar is because we've talked about the need for reprints, right? If there's if you have a slot in the set that needs to do something, reprinting an old card is better than making a new card, right? It leads to wide creep. If the card like Scar for a Scar, can anything do it better than Scar for a Scar? Not without creep. So reusing it's fantastic. Now, one thing I do want to say on this is it's completely the same card. It would have been kind of cool, I think. So I think I understand why they use the same art, because they want the card to look the same. That is fair. But I think it could have gone with new art, right? So, but they're definitely setting a precedent for this, that they're not going to bring in new art on reprints. And I mean, yes, we've seen some reprints before, like Tunic and the Skullcap. I don't think we expected new art for that one. For something like Scar the Scar, though, Scar for a Scar, it does seem like we could have had new art. But either way, I'm a really huge fan that we're seeing. This is the first one we've seen, I believe. Right? I mean, that's not a bomb, right? And this is a really, really good thing. Let's hope for those syncs. Let's hope for those fates going forward. Huge fan of this. So nicely done, LSS. All right, next is Helio's meter. Not for the card, right? But for what it represents. The concept of token equipment is pretty phenomenal for what it is, for limited. I absolutely love it. Everybody's got access to it. It does the same thing for everybody. Sure, there may be better options if you can get them, but everyone's guaranteed to have this tool at their disposal. Now, why would they do that? Apparently, in their testing or their design, they identified the need for this in some fashion. It's not especially good, but that doesn't matter, right? I love the concept here of having token pieces, right? Whether it be equipment or, we've seen Phoenix Flame as well, right? They put in necessary pieces to the deck in the token slot. And, or I should say to the deck in limited, right? To limited functioning. Anyway, you guys get it. I think there's a huge shout out here for putting this in. I think it serves a purpose, and I think, I definitely expect to see more of that in the future. Right, number 8 is Spreading Flames. So, yeah, sure, this one's a bomb. Actually, I referred to it in another cast. It's a fire starter is what I'm calling it. And man, this starts some fire. But I really do love the design space on this one. It's very creative with it starts the chain, and it rewards you for keeping the chain going in every sense, right? Because the cards after it will reward you and continue to reward you. And this is, it also, because of the way it's written, right, you really functionally are playing a bunch of small stuff instead of, 2 or 3 bombs. It really encourages the small stuff. Obviously, it fits into, Fi's playstyle. I just really like the design space on this. I thought it was a really creative way to, bring the reward for going wide and small and wide, either way. All right, next I have Combustion Point, okay? So this is a ninja attack reaction. So this is 1 drop. Target Draconic or ninja attack action card gains +1. You may banish a non-equipment defending card with defense less than the number of Draconic chain links you control. So in many senses, this is kind of like a route on steroids. It banishes it instead it goes back to hand. You obviously have the limitation of the link being longer. I'll be honest, I don't know how much play this one ends up seeing. I don't, but I like the creativity here, right? It's a huge payoff. It costs you 1. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it, right? So either, whether the card ends up being very good or not, I really like kind of revisiting that type of design space. Now, I know that there's a lot of bad feelings about route and stuff like that, which is completely fair. But there's a lot of counter checks to this as well. But the bonus is better because it banishes, not goes back to hand. So I thought this was really creative design when I saw it. We haven't seen anything like that outside of outside of really route. I don't believe we've seen anything like that. So bringing it back home. All right, next, the next 2, I'm going to go ahead and talk about together. So it's Tide Flippers and Silent Stilettos. So Tide Flippers is attack reaction, destroy it. Target attack action card with 2 or less base gains go again. It has AB1. And then we have Silent Stilettos. Whenever an attacking ally you control dies or an attack action card you control is destroyed by Phantasm, you can pay 3. If you do, it gain 1 action point. So they are common versions-ish of a lot of other things we've seen, but they bring in AB, right? Silent Stilettos is it's kind of a hybrid between Time Skippers and the boots. Tide Flippers is really Snapdragons. I just like these, right? They're not amazing, but they're fine, and they work really well within the set. They're both commons. You're going to draft them a lot. Stilettos it is what it is. But again, you can see the lines there where it's kind of like a combination between like the big legendary or whatever. Tide Flippers kind of, Snappies is better in the right deck, but Tide Flippers is just fine in a deck where you're small. It brings AB to the table. And I really like bringing a lot more of those options instead of just being like, well, I'm playing something with Go Again, or I'm playing something with a bunch of zeros, so I should play Snappies. I like this a lot, right? I like Tide Flippers. I like Silent Stilettos. I think it's a great design space. Just kind of morph it a little bit, have it be a common, so it's not a super big bomb, but it still serves a purpose. And I think it's fantastic. We have seen that in the past for some other things, and I really appreciate that design space. All right, number 4 is Double Strike. this card's very creative, right? Now, I was going to say, it's yet to be seen how good it is. I think it's good. I think it's very, very good. I think that most ninjas will use it because why the heck not, right? It's 2 1s. I mean, it's really good. But I just really like the design space on this, the way that they, I mean, obviously it would have come out in playtesting or whatever, but they thought ahead. They're like, oh, well, we can't do it because it would recur. I just think it's creative design space to be like, you know what we need to do? We need to find some way to make one card attack twice. How do we do that? Here's how you do it, right? It's just very good. I think it's very creative design. So, shout out there as well. All right, number 3 is Sift. Now, there's been some, I specifically have blue Sift here. Now, remember, there is a full rainbow of this one for a 4-3-2. In this case, the blue, you put the 2, and then you draw them back. This card's really creative. We'll end up having to see how useful this is for Runeblades. I mean, I think probably they're the one, like a Viscerize, probably the one that gets the most out of this. Briar probably some too, to try and get her fuses. Viscerize just probably wants to make sure he's got the right mix of attacks and non-attacks, right? But that's the whole Runeblade thing, is sometimes you just dead draw, and Sift lets you get your non-attack out and then potentially dig for what you need. I think it's really neat. I think it's going to, the more obvious thing right now is for Runeblades. But I think that there are other classes out there that may get use out of it. I heard somebody talking Boltyn. I don't think that's true because it still costs you a card. But, the line of thought is there. People are trying to figure out how to use this card, right? And people get it, right? This card is not, this card's not being lost on people, that it's got some creative value and maybe some creative use. All right, number 2 is Flex. Gotta love it. So when you attack or defend with Flex, you may pay 2. If you do, it gains 2. I love it, right? We've seen, there's almost been a card like this in almost every set since Monarch, I believe. We had Rally the Rear Guard, and, well, I guess Exude Confidence too. Okay, fair enough. So maybe those were all the same. So either way, there's certainly a precedent for cards like this where you can put it down and then put more resources in it to do what it needs to do. Right? We even saw that with the defense reactions from WTR, right? I just like this. It serves a good... It is interesting this one's a rare, because a lot of times cards like this serve a purpose in Limited, and this one's going to be a little harder to get. The fact that they're doing it on the attack, that might be why that's a rare. Maybe that's why they put it in that slot. But again, I just like this design space. I hope they explore that more, giving you, more functional options out of your card and get you a little, not hand cycling, but pitch cycling, right? You can kind of do your thing. So I really, really like Flex, and the art's kind of cool, right? It's not super awesome, but it's pretty cool. And then my number one is That All You Got. So I'm in huge love with this card. I think it was perfect design space to put into this set where you have risk of people going pretty wide on you. And, this is like a fantastic, like tier one sideboard card, right? The matches you need, and it's yellow, and it's 0, and defense for 3. It's phenomenal, right? Again, are you going to use it in every match? No, but this was a really creative way for them to put kind of a check on a certain type of deck, right? Classic sideboard card, great design, great reward for running into the right type of deck and making sure that you have it at your disposal. All right. Now, surprise one, I have a pick number 0. And this card is phenomenal design for Flesh and Blood. And it's kind of an interesting card because it's not all that useful all the time, but this card's pretty well done design. In fact, by pretty well done design, you see it right there. This is phenomenal design for a game like Flesh and Blood with how Flesh and Blood works. So Vipox is 0, attacks for 1. When Vipox, whatever. When it hits a hero, they lose health equal to the number of cards in their hand. I love this. I love this so much. You know who also loves this? Benji. Right? Like Benji, Snappies, Tides, whatever. Oh man, this card is just phenomenal. I mean, not just for Benji, but it's phenomenal because we've been seeing, it's no secret we've been in a no-block meta because a lot of the cards out there have higher upsides, but fusing, you get double dip out of fusing. It's better for you to keep in your hand, right? You get better value not blocking most of the time in the way that things have been. And this says, screw you to not blocking, right? This is, if you can slide this in without equipment or something like this, this is, cheers. This is phenomenal design. Well done. I'm a huge fan of this. So anyway, that is the actual end of the list. I had to get Vipox in there. Let's go with Vipox. Yeah, I had to get Vipox in there because I think that might, well, it's my number 0, right? But I think this was a keystone of the set. Not keystone. It's going to be something we remember for a long time of the set. Is it good? Is it not? I don't know, but it's a really phenomenal take at trying to do what they're trying to do for this. So anyway, that is going to do it for me tonight. That's my list. Let me know in the comments, what else, what other, do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree with my picks? Remember, I'm not talking about necessarily the best cards in the set. I'm talking about the, some pretty big design wins, stuff that I really thought was interesting design. What else have you found interesting? Let me know in the comments. Do want to give a reminder to everyone that Travis over at Fab Foundry, he's going to be cracking singles for Uprising. I'm going to need him. You're going to need him. We're all going to need him. When you go over there and check him out, if you use the code below, I actually get a small kickback from that, which is much appreciated because it can help me get the rest of my cardboard addiction going. So anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, as always. And if nothing else, folks, go Commando.